So this is the view from the bottom. I've removed a plate here on the bottom, and this is the front panel over here. Up on this corner is where the power supply came in, and if you look in here, it looks like the power came in on that plug and goes over, part of it at least goes right over to the capacitor there on the top. That makes me think that the external supply was definitely a DC supply. There's no sign of any rectifiers or transformers or anything like that in here. So chances are pretty good that all that was in that external supply. I would just be guessing, talking too much about what's going on in here. This up in here to me looks like the audio oscillator section. There's a 25 millihenry coil there, a couple of capacitors. I'm not sure what this down in here. So this is a small tube. I'm not sure what number it is. Actually, a lot of these have numbers. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. This one has the number 955 on it. I don't know if it's better with the light or without the light. Maybe neither. So it's got but a 955 tube. I'm not even sure what kind of base that's referred to. The brown square things are capacitors. This is a capacitor down in here. Not sure what some of this other is. This is a tube base back in behind the capacitor here. This is the adjustment, the output level adjustment. So the part that went from 1 microvolt to 10 microvolts. This on the lower part is where you had the multiplier. So this seems to be like a divide by 10 attenuator. 10 dB, or excuse me, divide by 10 on voltage, I believe would be 20 dB of attenuation per section. So if you look at, again, this is, I was looking there at the bottom. This is the, right above that, this is actually the type of tube. This is a number 76 tube. And this is a 84. The 84 is also marked 6Z4 on the side. The 76 has a marking of, you can see the 7 there, that's 76. And made by RCA. This up here is just the base would be towards the bottom if this was sitting normally, but with this type of equipment, it could be sitting on its back or some other position. So this is basically some mechanical stability to hold those two tubes in place. This is the modulation level adjustment. Here's the external modulation in. This, I'm not sure how exactly you get to that. This in the middle, I would guess, down in here, is the modulation transformer. But I could be totally wrong about that. You can see the meter down and to the right there. There's also another tube over here inside this metal case. And this is a capacitor up here, that feeds into this upper case. And this upper case is where the frequency controls themselves, both the band switch and then the dial are. So we'll take a look at that next. So I guess the thing that's kind of disappointing at this point, well, these are old, these are massive, it's a pretty massive power rheostat or variable resistor. And they all are, all of them are the large, fairly high power types of devices. But the thing that I'm seeing that concerns me is that it doesn't have an internal supply. So that means I'd have to build some kind of external supply to get this working. And without any manual or anything, that could be problematic. So anyway, let's take a look up in the oscillator and frequency control section next. So before we get into the in that section, I just look at the sheer number of screws. There's 4 there across the front. There's another 6. There's 10 on the top. This is holding something. 3 is 13. That'd be 16. That'd be 19. So there's 19 screws total holding the shield for the frequency portion of this in place. And it's actually setting bottoms down now. You can see the tube with the retention in place. And also this other tube, and you can get a better view of the attenuator, and then above the attenuator is the adjustment for the carrier level.
You'll find our snack bar chock full of good things to eat and drink. Tasty, tempting hot dogs, thirst-quenching soft drinks, fresh, crunchy popcorn. You've plenty of time, so visit the snack bar now.
So that actually turned out to be a little more work than I thought. I thought this side over here came loose because there's a bent seam there, but actually there were 6 more screws over here. This is welded together somehow. So 25 screws total. Notice there's that nut there on the top as I take this off. That basically a little knob to hold the tube safely in place. And notice the tube's on a base. Actually, that's one of the interesting things down in here also is that the tube is on kind of a freestanding, the base is screwed to the chassis, but the connections to the tube terminals themselves are part of the, basically a screw terminal on the base. So this over here is it's what we call a capacitor. It's a very, very large capacitor. So that's interesting. The torrent here is a little different than I was expecting to see. The part that moves, I'm moving the band selector now, and nothing on the outer part moves. Recently I was working actually on a Hewlett-Packard 608D, and for the band selector on it, the outer part of the turret turns, and there's like some contacts that the different positions hit. This one, the outer part's fixed and the inner part turns. And then you can also see there's 6 trimmer capacitors up there to allow fine-tuning the different bands, I assume. This, actually one of the tubes had a date on it. There's a, it says tested, I believe that's a 2/26/43, so February 1943, good. And then at the bottom there's an initial, I can't tell if it's a W or an LV. This actually has, so there's some markings of March 1983 with some rework that had been done in here apparently. This upper tube, I think it's interesting. All of this stuff, I mean, this was made, it's some of the highest quality radio gear that was made for a long time. It was also made to see pretty heavy use, and maybe you don't have a manual. So like this number here, you can tell this is a number 76 tube. If the tube got shattered or something, you might not be able to read the number off the tube, but because you've got the little nameplate there, you can figure out what kind of tube it is. So it looks like it's 2016 now, so that would be 33 years ago when when somebody did this, and the thing was originally made in '39, so these were retouched up or reworked. 50 years. Actually, this one's, I can't tell if that's 80. This one is definitely 83. This one almost looks like a 89, but it's probably an 83 since they both say March. I can't make out what that bottom part says. But somebody has done some rework in here, whether it was to repair it or modify it in some way. I don't know, and nothing about that particularly jumps out at me either, in terms of what they might have been doing. So anyway, that's what the inside of it looks like. So looks like there's probably, this is the oscillator tube up here. This is probably the RF amplifier. If I had to guess, I would guess that these over here are the modulator, probably a stage of modulation, and then a stage of amplification for the modulator. This in the middle is what I thought was a modulation transformer, and I still think it might be that. You can see some of the large power rheostats in here. That'll be used for some of the calibration of the different levels. This is the back of the meter, back in there behind the tube. So that is pretty much what it looks like. It's a pretty picture of the tube there.